Mixed-gender prisons are a melting pot of social, cultural, and psychological dynamics that defy conventional wisdom. Far from what mainstream media portrays, these institutions are a canvas painted with tales of unexpected friendships, alliances, power dynamics, and much more. This video enumerates 10 of the most intriguing and surprising facets of life within mixed-gender prisons. Number 1. Unexpected friendships. In the complex ecosystem of mixed-gender prisons, friendships often take a form that would be unimaginable in the outside world. The walls and bars don't just confine bodies, they also reshape social norms and expectations in a way that forces inmates to reconsider their prejudices and assumptions. When men and women find themselves sharing the same confined space, there's a break from the traditional gender roles that society has imposed upon them. In such an environment, friendship is not just a way to pass the time, it becomes a survival mechanism. For instance, you'll find men who were formerly part of gangs that perpetuated toxic masculinity, forging friendships with women who have been victims of domestic abuse. The prison environment, in its shared harshness and austerity, often breaks down the barriers that would typically keep such people apart. In these friendships, gender becomes secondary to shared experiences, complementary skill sets, and the need for emotional support. A man skilled at legal jargon might help a woman work on her case, while she might share coping mechanisms she's learned from group therapy sessions. The transactional nature often associated with friendships in prison gets nuanced. It's not just about bartering goods, but sharing emotional landscapes. Women often bring different socializing techniques into the prison ecosystem. The presence of females often leads to the development of communal spaces, where inmates, regardless of gender, can talk openly about their emotions, fears, and hopes, something less commonly seen in male-only prisons. This creates a different type of solidarity, one that transcends the usual groupings found in same-sex penitentiaries. Likewise, men often provide a different perspective that can be refreshing to women who have lived with a distorted view of masculinity. Being in close quarters with men who are navigating the same struggles can shatter long-standing beliefs and replace them with a nuanced understanding of what it means to be male or female in a society that often draws a rigid line between the two. However, it would be naive to think that all friendships in mixed-gender prisons are rosy. There are, of course, friendships that become manipulative, those that are founded on ulterior motives, or those that lead to more complex relationship dynamics that can result in tensions or conflicts. Yet even these darker aspects contribute to the tapestry of human connections that make life in mixed-gender prisons unpredictable. In a place where freedom is limited, unexpected friendships become a small but significant window to a world where the norms are rewritten and judgments are reevaluated. Each friendship tells a story not just of survival, but of humanity's capacity for adaptation and its incessant search for connection, even in the most unlikely places. Number 2. Unconventional alliances for safety. The desire for security is a fundamental human instinct, heightened within the walls of a prison where vulnerability is constantly exploited. In mixed-gender settings, alliances for safety often extend beyond the conventional boundaries of gender, race, or even prior affiliations. These collaborations might be born out of necessity, but they often result in unconventional partnerships that highlight the adaptability of human nature under duress. For instance, a former corporate executive serving time for fraud may form an alliance with a woman imprisoned for drug-related offenses. On the surface, their worlds couldn't be more different, but within the confines of prison, they find common ground, perhaps in the form of shared skills, insights, or the need to navigate prison politics safely. It's not uncommon to see such disparate individuals strategically aligning to offer mutual protection against gangs or corrupt guards. The executive might provide advice on legal matters or barter his connections for physical protection, while the woman might offer street-smart survival skills in exchange. Mixed-gender environments also allow for unique partnerships, where women and men join forces to police their own, keeping an eye out for sexual harassment or assault. In some instances, men become unlikely but ardent supporters of campaigns led by women within the prison to address these issues, facilitating a conversation that rarely happens in single-gender institutions. These alliances not only make the prison environment safer, but also challenge ingrained gender stereotypes about who should be the protector and who the protected. Moreover, these unusual alliances are not just limited to the inmate population. They often include relationships with the prison staff. A male inmate with a talent for administration may end up assisting a female guard with paperwork. A woman skilled in conflict resolution might become an unofficial mediator in disputes among male inmates, sanctioned by the guards who appreciate her skill. Such interactions create layers of alliances that weave a complicated yet fascinating social fabric, one that impacts the balance of power within the prison in surprising ways. There's a pragmatic aspect to these alliances. They create a balance, an ecosystem of checks and powers. When women ally with men, or when inmates form cross-gender coalitions, it disrupts the usual power hierarchies that can lead to abuse or exploitation. By adding more variables to the equation, the dynamics become less predictable and, in a way, safer for those who could otherwise be easy targets. But let's not romanticize. These alliances are often fraught with complications, including betrayal, manipulation, or power struggles. Yet the very existence of such partnerships, teetering between trust and necessity, reveals the intricate social machinery that operates in mixed-gender prisons. In a world devoid of freedom, but rich in human complexity, unconventional alliances for safety are a testament to the lengths people will go to forge a semblance of security and community, even in the most trying of circumstances. Number 3. Contraband economy. In the hidden corridors and unspoken agreements that govern life in mixed-gender prisons, contraband often serves as a unique currency, a way of wielding power, or even a means to form bonds. Just like in same-gender prisons, items like cigarettes, drugs, or cell phones float around in a clandestine market. However, the introduction of both genders into the equation adds layers of complexity and nuance that set these institutions apart. Suddenly, items like makeup, personal hygiene products, and even small trinkets become part of the contraband economy, introducing new forms of social capital and power dynamics. Men and women, having different needs and preferences, value contraband differently. For instance, a female inmate might place high value on sanitary products, while a male inmate might prioritize tobacco. These differing needs create an opportunity for trade, negotiation, and strategic alliances that transcend conventional gender roles. A man might trade information about the guard's shifts, garnered from his job in the prison's administrative office, in exchange for beauty products for his girlfriend on the outside, secured by a female inmate with connections in the laundry department where such items are often smuggled in. What makes this economy particularly intriguing is how it exposes the intricate tapestry of human wants and needs, and how these can be exploited for power or leverage. Women, who may lack physical strength compared to their male counterparts, find ways to assert their influence by controlling the flow of certain goods. If a female inmate has connections with a staff member who can smuggle in contraband, she gains a certain power that can be bartered for protection, favors, or other commodities. In this alternative economy, charisma, persuasion, and emotional intelligence often outweigh physical strength. Women may find themselves in roles where they broker deals, leveraging their social skills and networks. Meanwhile, men, traditionally viewed as the more dominant gender, may find themselves in positions where they have to negotiate rather than enforce, further blurring the lines of gender roles. The contraband economy is not just a series of transactions. It's a complex web that impacts social hierarchies, friendships, and even the self-esteem of inmates. Possessing a sought-after item not only increases an inmate's social standing, but can also be a psychological boost, a reminder of some level of agency and control in an environment designed to strip them of it. However, the stakes are high, and participation in the contraband economy comes with its risks, including severe punishment or becoming indebted to the wrong people, which can lead to dangerous situations. Nonetheless, the contraband economy remains an integral part of the social structure in mixed-gender prisons, revealing the adaptability, ingenuity, and resilience of human nature when faced with the harshest of life's circumstances. Number 4. Love and relationships. The complexities of love and romantic relationships in mixed-gender prisons add another layer to the already intricate web of human interactions within these confined spaces. While society may generally view prison relationships through a lens of skepticism or moral judgment, the reality is far more nuanced. In a place where personal freedoms are stripped away and each day can seem like a monotonous loop, finding romantic connection can be both an emotional respite and a logistical complication. In many cases, these relationships break down the stereotypes that both men and women have internalized over the years. Men, often expected to exude toughness and emotional aloofness, can find themselves in relationships that require vulnerability and emotional availability. Women, in turn, can step outside the stereotypical roles of caregivers to become partners in a more equitable emotional landscape. The absence of traditional societal settings and expectations allows inmates to explore relationships that might seem unconventional or unlikely in the outside world. However, love in mixed-gender prisons is not as simple as two people finding a connection. The rules and regulations governing inmate interactions make it incredibly difficult for relationships to flourish. Often couples must resort to stolen moments during work assignments or covert exchanges of letters and mementos. These challenges, instead of deterring relationships, sometimes make them more intense, each stolen moment laden with the weight of its own illegality and scarcity. The prison system itself reacts to these relationships in complex ways. While some institutions have regulations against romantic relationships between inmates, citing concerns about safety and order, others turn a blind eye, understanding that these relationships can sometimes reduce conflicts and tensions within the facility. Still, a romantic entanglement can become a point of leverage, something that guards or other inmates can exploit. Thus, each relationship must navigate not just emotional complexities, but also a fraught environment where the stakes are incredibly high. Moreover, the ephemeral nature of many prison relationships adds a bittersweet quality. When one partner is released while the other remains incarcerated, the relationship faces an almost insurmountable challenge. Even so, the emotional bonds formed within the prison walls can provide both parties with a sense of hope and human connection that sustains them through the difficulties of prison life and perhaps beyond. Despite these challenges and risks, love and relationships in mixed-gender prisons offer a glimpse into the resilience of human emotions, even in the most constrained and controlled environments. They showcase our innate need for connection and intimacy, revealing that even behind bars, the search for love is an inextricable part of the human experience. Number 5. Transgender inmates' experiences. The challenges and complexities of life in mixed-gender prisons are often magnified for transgender inmates, whose experiences provide a stark lens through which to view issues of gender, safety, and human rights within these institutions. For many transgender individuals, the very act of being placed in a prison that aligns with their gender identity rather than their assigned sex at birth can be a fraught and emotionally draining process. Yet the complexities don't end there. In fact, they often intensify. Transgender inmates frequently face a heightened risk of harassment and violence, both from fellow inmates and, sadly, from prison staff. The risk is often exacerbated by policies that do not adequately address the unique needs and vulnerabilities of transgender individuals, such as appropriate housing and health care, including access to hormone therapy. However, amidst these struggles, surprising alliances and communities often form. Cisgender inmates who may have had little to no interaction with transgender individuals in the outside world become allies, protectors, or even friends. These relationships may initially form out of mutual benefit. For instance, a transgender inmate with a talent for hairstyling might exchange this skill for protection. But they can grow into genuine friendships that challenge and reshape deeply held prejudices. However, being transgender in a mixed-gender prison also presents unique challenges. The struggle for recognition, both legal and social, often plays out in ways that cisgender inmates don't experience. Simple acts, like choosing which bathroom to use or what clothing to wear, become flashpoints for tension or even conflict. Transgender inmates often have to navigate a double stigma, marginalized by society at large for being incarcerated and facing discrimination or misunderstanding based on their gender identity. Despite these struggles, the experience of transgender inmates in mixed-gender prisons offers important insights into the plasticity of human nature and the possibilities for empathy and understanding across seemingly unbridgeable divides. While prison life poses considerable challenges for transgender individuals, the alliances they form and the resilience they show also reflect the profound ways in which people can adapt and find pockets of humanity within even the most dehumanizing circumstances. Number 6. The complexity of power dynamics. The complexity of power dynamics. In a mixed-gender prison, power dynamics evolve in ways that are often unpredictable, complex, and multifaceted. The standard paradigms of control and dominance found in single-gender institutions are thrown into flux, giving rise to a lattice of relationships that disrupt traditional hierarchies. Within this matrix, power does not necessarily lie solely in physical strength or numerical superiority, but rather in an intricate blend of social, intellectual, and emotional capital. Additionally, the presence of both men and women complicates alliances that are typically formed along gender lines in single-gender prisons. In mixed-gender settings, inmates find that traditional gender roles can be both a hindrance and a help, depending on the situation. A man might find that his physical size offers him little advantage in disputes that require diplomacy and tact, while a woman might discover that her empathy and emotional intelligence make her a target for manipulation. One fascinating aspect of these complex power dynamics is the subversion of traditional gender roles. Women may assume leadership positions, commanding respect not because they can exert physical force, but because they offer some other form of capital, be it knowledge, connections, or emotional support, that is deemed valuable. Meanwhile, men may find themselves in more vulnerable positions, their traditional roles as protectors supplanted or made redundant by the capabilities of their female counterparts. Yet the power dynamics in mixed-gender prisons are not a utopia of gender equality. Far from it. Exploitation, abuse, and inequality exist, but they manifest in ways that are shaped by the coexistence of men and women. Gender-based violence and discrimination occur, but they are part of a broader spectrum of power dynamics at play, influenced by factors such as race, social background, and economic status. In the end, the complexity of power dynamics in mixed-gender prisons serves as a microcosm of society's evolving attitudes towards gender, power, and hierarchy. It exposes both the limitations and the possibilities inherent in human interactions when traditional roles are challenged, offering a complicated yet revealing portrait of humanity under constraint. Number 7. Parenting behind bars. In the closed environment of a mixed-gender prison, one of the most emotionally complex aspects that come to light is the experience of incarcerated parents. Far from the ideal setting for raising a child, these institutions nonetheless sometimes find themselves doubling as unconventional homes. Some facilities offer programs where children can live with their incarcerated mothers for the first few years, and in rarer instances with their fathers. In these settings, parenting becomes both a unique challenge and a poignant expression of the human capacity for adaptability and love. Incarcerated parents, whether male or female, face a tremendous emotional toll. The physical separation from their children, coupled with the stigma attached to being a parent behind bars, contributes to feelings of guilt and inadequacy. However, the mixed-gender setting can sometimes offer a supportive community that single-gender prisons may not. Mothers and fathers may share parenting advice, stories, or simple acts of kindness, like creating handmade toys or drawing pictures to send to each other's children. This not only allows them to contribute positively to their kids' lives, but also creates a support network among incarcerated parents. In mixed-gender prisons, the difficulties of parenting are universal but expressed differently across gender lines. While fathers often struggle with the societal expectation to be financial providers, something they can't fulfill behind bars, mothers grapple with the guilt associated with not being physically present for their children's daily lives. Both experiences, however, highlight the complexity of familial love when stretched across the barriers of imprisonment. The challenges of parenting behind bars underline the deeply human capacity to adapt and love, even in circumstances most would consider far from ideal for raising a child. Number 8. Educational and vocational programs. One of the most compelling phenomena in mixed-gender prisons is the impact of educational and vocational programs on the inmate population. In a space where opportunities for personal growth are often limited by a range of systemic constraints, these programs serve as vital avenues for skill development, rehabilitation, and, perhaps most importantly, hope. The presence of both men and women in these programs has led to unique dynamics, opportunities, and challenges that provide a nuanced perspective on the role of education in corrections. Generally, educational and vocational programs aim to equip inmates with the tools they need for successful re-entry into society. However, the co-ed setting adds a layer of complexity to this already difficult endeavor. Gender stereotypes can manifest in surprising ways. For example, woodworking or mechanical repair courses may be overwhelmingly populated by men, while caregiving or cosmetology courses attract more women. However, the mixed gender setting often encourages a breaking down of these traditional roles. Men venture into culinary arts, and women step into carpentry workshops, breaking barriers and defying expectations. Yet, despite these challenges, the shared quest for knowledge and skill acquisition often serves as a great equalizer. In the sanctuary of the classroom, traditional power dynamics are subverted, and inmates are valued for their intellectual contributions rather than physical prowess or social standing. Education becomes a currency of its own, a form of empowerment that transcends gender and social roles. In the process, the men and women who engage in these programs not only gain practical skills for life after prison, but also experience a profound shift in how they view themselves and each other. In this way, educational and vocational programs in mixed-gender prisons offer a glimpse of what is possible when people are given the chance to rise above their circumstances and strive for a better future. Number 9. The involvement of outside activists. Mixed-gender prisons often serve as a focal point for activists advocating for a variety of social justice issues, ranging from prison reform to gender equality. The unique challenges and dynamics that arise in these settings provide a compelling backdrop for activism that strives to effect change both within and beyond prison walls. These activists, who come from a plethora of backgrounds and espouse diverse causes, engage with the inmate population in ways that bring an additional layer of complexity to the life within these institutions. Activists often serve as a lifeline for inmates who feel marginalized or oppressed within the system. They provide crucial support in the form of legal advice, educational resources, and sometimes simply emotional encouragement. For women in mixed-gender settings, activists may advocate for proper health care, protection from harassment, and equal access to vocational programs. For men, issues may range from challenging unjust sentencing to providing mental health resources. Importantly, activists also bring attention to the unique issues facing transgender inmates, campaigning for better medical care, safer housing conditions, and fair treatment. Overall, the interaction between activists and the inmate population adds another dimension to the tapestry of experiences and dynamics within mixed-gender prisons. Through their advocacy and engagement, activists challenge inmates to think critically about their circumstances, question the systems that govern their lives, and envision a different, more equitable future. Simultaneously, the realities of life behind bars offer activists invaluable insights into the human cost of societal inequities, insights that often fuel further activism. Thus, in the intricate dance between activism and incarceration, both parties are changed, and the boundaries of what is deemed possible within the confines of a prison are continually redefined. Number 10. Internal judicial systems. Amidst the multitude of complex dynamics within mixed-gender prisons, one of the most intriguing yet often overlooked aspects is the internal judicial system created by inmates themselves. This informal justice system operates parallel to the official regulations and disciplinary procedures enforced by prison authorities. In a setting where men and women coexist, the nature of this self-regulated governance becomes even more layered, reflecting the nuanced interplay of gender, power, and social norms. These internal systems frequently involve a set of unwritten rules and codes of conduct that are generally accepted among inmates. Violations may range from theft and dishonesty to more serious offenses like physical violence or harassment. Consequences can be similarly varied, from social ostracization to acts of retribution. Given the mixed gender context, issues like inappropriate conduct or harassment become particularly complex, requiring a nuanced approach that takes into account the perspectives of both male and female inmates. However, these internal systems are far from perfect and can perpetuate the same kinds of inequalities and abuses found in broader society. They may be influenced by external factors like race, economic background, or gang affiliations, and are not immune to corruption or misuse of power. Moreover, they operate without the checks and balances that ideally characterize formal judicial systems, making them susceptible to arbitrary or unjust decisions. Despite these limitations, the existence of internal judicial systems within mixed-gender prisons underscores the innate human desire for order, justice, and social structure, even in settings designed to restrict freedom. These systems serve as a lens through which to examine how gender influences our notions of justice and fairness, how it shapes our willingness to abide by rules or challenge authority, and how, in a closed environment, men and women can collaborate to create a semblance of order out of chaos. The intricacies of these systems offer a unique glimpse into the complexities of human behavior, revealing how, even in the most constrained circumstances, social dynamics find a way to manifest themselves.